All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to our CodeX group meeting. I hope you're all doing well. We're excited to have two great presentations lined up for you all today. We have Dorna Moini, CEO and founder of Gavel, which formerly was Documate. Then we have Raymond Blischt, CEO and founder of Legal Complex. And so two entrepreneurs working at the forefront of legal innovation. And we're excited to have you. This meeting is an hour long. So we typically split the time between the presenters and ask the presenters to leave enough time for folks to ask questions. So if you could perhaps talk, 10, 15 minutes and we use the rest for discussion, that would be great. All right, so if anyone, before we get started, if anyone has any news or updates for the group, as always, please use our chat. And with that, let's just kick it off. We'll turn it over to Dorna.
Thank you so much, Roland. I'm so excited to be here, and thank you for having me. Great to see you as well. So I thought I would start with giving you guys just a little bit of background on what my company, Gavel, which used to be called Documate. Some of you may have heard the old name. Actually, we presented a little, I don't know, it was probably 2 years ago under the Documate name here. So what I'm going to do is I'll give you a little preview of what Gavel is. I was going to talk a little bit about legal productization, and then I was going to dive into a super quick demo of Documate, just in case anyone's curious how it works. But we also have free trial for anyone who wants to try it out. So just to give you a little background on why we started Gavel, I am a former attorney. I practiced for about 7 years, actually up in the Bay Area at Sidley Austin last, and I was doing a lot of pro bono work on the side. And one of the areas that I was doing pro bono work in was with domestic violence survivors. And I was finding that a lot of my time as a pro bono attorney was being spent on process-oriented and rules-based parts of the case. So what I really wanted to do at that time was build an application, an end-to-end tool, sort of like TurboTax, that would allow consumers and even the pro bono attorneys to enter data, be routed down different paths, and then generate the documents that they needed for their cases in the domestic violence space. So I was a lawyer. I didn't know how to code. I got together with a friend of mine who was an engineer, and he helped me build this tool. We launched it. We got really good traction from the consumer side and with legal aid organizations and our firm using that tool. But what happened was we started to also get all this inbound interest from other lawyers. And what they were saying was, hey, how can I build something like what you've built for domestic violence, but not for domestic violence, for other areas of law and other jurisdictions? And we realized that the crux of the issue was that there are so many legal professionals with incredible amounts of expertise in their brains, but they don't always know how to code. And so we wanted to make it really easy to launch and scale end-to-end legal products and deliver those legal services to members of the public. As many of you know, there's a huge justice gap in the US and beyond. The last Legal Services Corporation report, a justice gap report that was done, shows that 92% of low-income Americans don't have the legal needs, don't get the legal access that they need. And so we see technology as being one of the ways that we can put a dent in that access to justice gap. So let me just go ahead and share my screen to share with you some slides, where I'll talk a little bit about legal productization generally. So in the next 10 years, it's been estimated that about 90% of legal services are going to be delivered online. That is going up from what is now 8%. So we've seen in other industries like accounting and tax and marketing and payments, and as you can see here, healthcare and financial services, online adoption of these types of services has gone up. However, legal has remained behind. Now, why is that? a huge part of that is really on both sides of the market, the lawyer side, the supply side, and the demand side being the consumers. So historically, lawyers have not had a lot of tech expertise. There are lots of lawyers, and probably many more in this audience than in the broader public, who do have technical expertise and who can code, but that's not what we go to law school for. We don't learn how to code. We don't even really learn how to do marketing. We learn specifically how to be lawyers and how to be analytical. And so that is changing with the adoption of no-code tools like Gavel that you can use to spin up websites, create legal products, create all sorts of online digital products that you can interface with your clients with. Cloud use has also gone up. So whereas I can say very anecdotally, 2 years ago, we were always getting questions about on-prem solutions and whether you could have an on-prem server. Now we almost never get that question because the landscape has changed so much, with everyone having gone remote and sort of somewhat gone back, and the widespread adoption and understanding that cloud software is very, very secure, and you can take precautions to ensure that your data is secure. And then finally is the billable hour. So when I first went into a law firm, I remember thinking the billable hour was the most amazing thing in the world. How could people be spending this much on an hour of my time? But as you progress in your career, what you sort of actually start to realize is it can be a cap. It's a cap. There's only so high that you can raise your hourly rate, and there are only so many hours that you can work per week. And so building legal products, online digital products to provide to your customers, to your clients, will help you price in a different way, on alternative fees, subscription fees, flat fees, that will allow you to scale that practice. And so that is also a really big mindset shift that's happening within the legal field. Now, on the consumer side, there is that justice gap, and self-help is hard and definitely error prone. There are lots of other things aside from technology that we could be doing to help that process as well. Consumers have rising standards for digital convenience. So whereas previously consumers wanted to come into your office and sit down with you and give you all their data and have you draft their documents from scratch, they really do expect to have mobile phone experiences and client portals as part of the process. There is also a huge fear of the billable hour on the consumer side. So where the billable hour represents something that is uncertain and doesn't give you a lot of clarity into what your ultimate bill is going to be, no matter what range of the spectrum you are in terms of income and ability to pay. And then there are solutions out there, like things that you can access online through LegalZoom or Rocket Lawyer, but a lot of consumers do want something that's backed by experience and expertise. So knowing that there's been a product that's been built by someone who has a long-standing career or experience in a particular area definitely puts their minds at ease, even when they're using technology. Now, here's one example. I'll just kind of quickly go through this. Estate planning is one area that we see a lot of legal products being built in. The old way and the new way are very different, and the categories in which they're different, and the things that we provide as a platform at Gavel are data collection. So you can do client intake through the platform, drafting, that's document automation. So as I mentioned, we changed our name from Documate to Gavel recently. And part of that is because we have been very focused on document automation until now. And we still will continue to be very focused on document automation. But we've seen that a lot of our customers are using our platform for much more than just the document automation. And so we wanted to we wanted a name and brand that signified the larger product and the larger potential for what you can build, which includes all of the bolded sections on the left here. Communications can be done through the platforms, signatures. You can actually do payment and billing through the platform. And then we also have data management features that allow you to reuse data, have users log in, store data, be guided through a portal on what they need to do next in their particular case. Before I go into just a quick demo of our platform, I also wanted to just show a few of the examples of different tools and companies that have been built on the Gavel platform. So they range across the spectrum. We have customers and builders in over 23 different countries in 18 different languages, building in many different areas of law. Some of them are things that you may know of, like I think probably some of you have heard of JustDeck and Hello Divorce, but they really do range across the spectrum, from tools that are provided to consumers, like divorce tools, estate planning tools, eviction defense tools, expungement tools that can be provided to SMBs, small and medium-sized businesses, like the breach reporting tool that JustDeck has, and then tools that are provided at the enterprise level, where LCN Legal is one great example of that, where they're providing legal software that they've built on Gavel that they're then delivering to large financial institutions and large law firms and big enterprises. So the possibilities are endless, and Gavel is really just your toolkit to build that. So just to flash up some of our info here, we are at hello@gavel.io. If you want to email us, you can also start a free trial at gavel.io. And then before we dive into questions, I was going to just show you a really brief preview of the platform. This is the builder side of the platform. So we have two main experiences. We are essentially a B2B2C or a B2B2B platform, because our customers are the legal professionals. Their customers are either businesses or consumers who are consuming their legal services. We don't create the content, they create the content on our platform. So what you see here is the builder platform, and a builder can go in and create, I'm going to click into one of these that's a really simple one. So let's say an offer letter. People are creating much more complex things with many more questions and lots of robust logic, but this is an easy one to sort of show you the framework of how you build. So the builder can come in here, add questions that and instructional pages that they want to be displayed on the screen. They can add all kinds of formatting, add videos, images. So really think about this again as that TurboTax experience. If you as a builder want to build TurboTax, you can come onto the platform, add questions of different types, add instructional blocks, add videos, connect to outside data sources, integrate with other tools, add all sorts of logic on the back end. And then what you would do is you take those questions and that data that you've gathered, and you connect those to the documents that you want to generate at the end of that process. So in this case, I have 4 documents that are going to generate at the end of the process. One is a standard one that's going to apply for everyone. And then there are specific ones that apply, if you meet certain conditions. And so the kind of a bird's eye view of this is gather the data as a builder, determine what you want to gather, determine what you want to display to the user if you have videos or images that you want to display to them throughout that process. Load your documents and connect those documents to those fields. And then you can go ahead and run that. So you can go ahead and run that workflow and have your users use it. You can embed it onto your site. You can have it appear on people's accounts so that your users can log in and see, okay, these are the sequential steps that I need to take in a particular case. So that's a brief preview of what the platform looks like and what we do. And I'll just go ahead and open it up to questions for anyone who wants to learn more.
Great. Thank you, Dorna. This is really exciting. And I think, this is the future of legal practices, to help, people and organizations with legal expertise turn that expertise into products. And I wonder, so I think it's sort of a general tool. I wonder like how much you have to help your customers in that kind of like, figuring out which parts, of their practice are sort of amenable to this approach, right? Like I would assume if there's a sort of general practice law firm, for them to figure out exactly what's the part of that business that can become a system, can be where a large portion of it can be run through a system like yours. How do you interact with your customers on that level?
Yeah, that's a really good question. And that is sometimes the area that we get the first conversation that we have with a lot of customers is they want to build automation into their practice. And then they eventually want to launch these legal products, but they don't know where to start. And so what I typically say is start with something that is both repeatable and has volume. So for example, if you're, just to take the basic offer letter example, if you're only generating one offer letter, each month, that's probably not the area you want to get started on. And it's probably maybe even too small in scope to really see value. But think about something that has rules associated with it, which is actually a lot of the law. If you think about law and code, they're so similar to each other because they really are both comprised of a bunch of if-then rules, very complex if-then rules. And so think about an area of law where there is logic and there are logic and rules involved, and where it's repeatable, but also something where if you spend, 5 hours automating this area of law, you're actually going to make up that time because you're doing this piece of your practice frequently enough that it's going to be useful. So that's usually the first question that a lot of customers sort of ask us if they don't already know what they're building. And then on the how do we help customers and how available we are to them. We love having those types of conversations. So we have unlimited support. We think our platform is very easy to use. And so we've been able to provide unlimited support to our customers for a very long time as a result of that. So they usually have sort of a call. We have lots of support materials, but they can.
And how do you deal with that question? So there is an option for you as a company to say, well, I'm a lawyer and I have expertise in this and that area. And why don't I just create a system, like that, with the best content that I have curated over the years. There's people who do that just for, let's say, for all the workflows around starting a startup, right? Like you need NDAs, you need board consents, you need, employment agreements, things like that. So you could do that too, but your sense is like you just give the tools, you're selling the tools to the different to different firms to do that, right?
Definitely. And that's something that we thought about early on. We originally were like, okay, these people want to build tools. Why don't we just help them build them in all these different areas of law? But in order for us to do that, then we'd need to focus only on the areas that are impacting the most people, because if you're going to focus your time as a company on a few areas of law, you're going to touch the ones that are global, federal likely, and you're going to be able to scale and has the biggest total addressable market. So that wouldn't allow us to be able to focus on some of these smaller areas. Like every day I hear about an area of law that someone is automating that maybe I didn't even know was an area of law, and like I never heard of it. So we felt that the best way for us to scale the law, which is really our goal, is to help law to turn into code products that can be scaled to the middle class. The best way for us to do that was to build a platform and let the experts come on the platform to do the rest. Yeah,
makes sense. Okay, I see Eric has his name up, his hand up. Sorry, Ehrlich, how are you?
Okay, fine. Yes, just for my present background, I'm also a lawmaker in the European Commission, so I know how they're doing it. And my concern is that nowadays our rules we do in Europe, maybe in America too, is we don't do logical rules anymore. It's much more about procedures. It's much more about goals, targets, constraints, and so on and so on. So if you like to have a logical rule in the sense of legal logic, it's not there. It's then later developed in administrations, maybe courts. So there's a real gap because lawmakers can't really make good logical rules anymore, even if they would like to do so. it's impossible. They just say targets and then they have some kind of procedure to do that, but that's a bit difficult to do in practice. So it's much more work for practitioners to develop a rule that works in a quite procedural and logical way, yes. And actually, everybody would like to do it better, but it seems to be in the complexity of our society nowadays. No solutions really at hand. It's the way to move on.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think there are definitely areas of law that are not really meant for this type of platform. So what we really focus on is those areas that are rules-based, that are logic-based. We also, while for the most part, people are generating documents on the platform, there's also the possibility of generating decisions. So you could also create rules and logic that may provide some guidance, but then route someone to an attorney or to an expert to help them with the rest of the process.
Yeah, I also see your product being more sort of an enabler for legal professionals to replicate the logic of legal workflows and processes, rather than really capturing the logic of the legal rules underlying it, right? So
definitely, yeah. I mean, if we think about anything that goes to litigation, that is the breakdown of those types of rules. So we hope that our lawmakers create clear rules that the society can abide by and have a clear understanding of what the boundaries are and what the rules are. But where those if-then rules break down, or where there are factual disputes, are the areas that you really can't bring into automation anymore. You need a judge or a jury and other arbiters to help you make those decisions.
That makes sense. And how do people, actually I should say Mark has a question. So let me go to the questions in the chat here. Peter is asking if there are any integrations for latex typesetting. What does your implementation tech stack look like?
I'm not familiar with anyone who has used latex in the past, but we do have a public API. And so if you poke around in our help documentation there, you can integrate with lots of different tools. But I'm not familiar with latex specifically. And
what does your implementation stack look like? Can you talk about
so that? In terms of like what our product is built off of, or
I guess, yeah.
So I guess this actually also answers a little bit of Mark's question. So initially we started working off of DocAssemble. We still have some pieces of our backend that are built on DocAssemble. We're moving away from that. It's a really wonderful platform and got us very far in what we're working on right now. But a lot of the features that we've built out have moved beyond that. In terms of our tech stack and our code, we have a React and Python tech stack right now as well, with lots of other details I can tell you about.
All right, so and Aaron's saying, well, great product, Dorna. 2 quick questions. What is your approach to charging for the product? And 2, what does your user base look like? Percentage of law firms versus in-house legal tech providers or public interest companies or organizations? That's it.
Yeah, so we have a lot of our pricing publicly available on our website at gavel.io/pricing. We have a few different tiers. We mainly charge based on the number of builder seats and the types of users. We call them organizational users, who may be gathering data and reusing that data. And then in terms of our user base, we started out primarily within the legal aid space. Those were some of our initial customers. We still provide our software for free or at cost to legal aid providers. We have a ton of legal aid organizations who build on top of Gavel. And then most of our market and where we generate revenue from is the law firm audience, because they're also building all kinds of tools that they provide at scale to the middle class. So law firms would be our next biggest group. We do have some in-house folks who also use our platform. And then we also have people outside of the legal field who use our platform. But for the most part, our targeting and our marketing and messaging has been towards the legal community, and particularly to law firms. So that's where the bulk of our customers are.
Great. And yeah, Heidi put a link in there on your website. Thank you, Heidi. Yeah, well, that's great. So what's sort of the next thing for you? I mean, what kind of gets you up in the morning these days? What's the next big challenge for the company or goal? Just getting more distribution to law firms, and also, what's, is there a specific kind of segment in the law firm market that is sort of your sweet spot?
Yeah, definitely. So as we were talking about, like in the next 10 years, it's been estimated that 90% of legal services are going to be delivered online. And so our North Star as a company is building out our platform and continuing to build it out to realize that vision and be the infrastructure on which those legal services are built. And so we have the next big piece that we're working on in the next 6 months or so is enhancing our client portal. So we have some client portal functionality, but we have to date been mostly focused on the SaaS platform for the builder. And now we are focusing a lot more on, and that's continuing to be a core of our platform, but we're focusing even more on the builder to client relationship and how they interface with each other, which happens through more user segmentation, which we've done recently, different types of users, data management and organizing that data in better ways, communication through our platform, and the full client portal experience.
Okay, so when you talk about the builder, you said that's sort of the legal expert.
Exactly, yeah.
The lawyer at presumably they can build themselves and their relationship with their outside clients. Exactly.
And how they communicate. We want their entire relationship to be happening on our platform. And so those are the features that we're building out next, is to enhance that experience.
Cool. And who do you think, I mean, who are sort of the main players in this space at the moment? In terms of like, who do you view as your peers in this space? If there are
that's
any.
A really good question. Because I think there are obviously a ton of players in the document automation space, but that's only part of what we do. And people can correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think there are a lot of players that are playing within the legal product space and are really allowing for a full end-to-end tech stack for someone who wants to launch a legal business. But we certainly have there are lots of other players in the document automation space.
Sure. Well, great. Well, super. This was a great overview, Dora. Let's just see. Let's see. Oh, Sally had 2 more questions. How the recent AI developments affect automation tools. I suppose that's about ChatGPT, and want to learn how is feedback from customers about your marketplace. What's the feedback from customers about your marketplace? So what do you think about the large language models opportunities in your particular space, and then also a specific question about your marketplace?
Definitely. So lots of really amazing things being done through these large language models and in the recent developments to AI. We are always keeping our finger on that pulse, but we don't really see any immediate application to our platform, mostly because of the lack of enough data for all the niche areas that our customers are building. So we think that there are lots of great implications for the drafting side, but where we're focused on is allowing lawyers to automate expertise and lots of templates, really, frankly, that they already have. So it's something that we'll continue to look at, but we're not really in the drafting business as much, so we haven't done that. And on the marketplace side, we didn't really mention today, I didn't go into any detail on this, but we have a marketplace that is very primitive. We haven't even really announced it publicly, other than the fact that people find it on their own. And the marketplace is essentially a collection of some of the tools that a few of our customers have built and put onto the marketplace. Those customers who are on there have seen, some of them have seen business come in through it, depending on the area of law that they're in. And it's been a really great way to knowledge share between attorneys as well.
Yeah. So there's sort of a, we're at time, but there's like, maybe you can just very quickly respond to those questions. So first of all, Peter asking about non-legal applications. Wrong Face asking about privacy regarding your clients. And then Alex is asking about how do you deal with law firms as your customers? And then Peter made a point, which I think will be music to the ears of Professor Geneseret, who's our research director, saying that classical symbolic AI will have a kind of renaissance in this or we should revisit symbolic AI. Anyways, but yeah, can you just very quickly try to answer the question about non-legal applications, privacy, and law firms as customers?
Definitely. So I'll try to give like one sentence answers to those because I want to hear Raymond speak as well. So non-legal applications, we see them in a lot of different areas of law. Honestly, sales, marketing, recruiting, HR, resume building. There are so many areas that you think of as being non-legal, but they're really legal adjacent because their documents are legal. So those are some areas that we've seen people come in through the door and find us and use us. Data privacy requirements. So we have a whole security section and obviously terms of service on our website. So I would recommend going to gavel.io/security or looking at our terms of service. But we that's definitely, being a team of lawyers and engineers, it's something that it's really important to us, and we give really clear disclosures to our customers about what we're doing and what those terms are. And then we also have very robust security mechanisms, have outside pen testing happening all the time to make sure that we're on the same page. And then that last question about issues encountered reaching out to law firms as customers. I think that question is more around us reaching out to law firms, or is that, yeah?
No, selling into law firms, I guess, which is notorious.
Selling into law firms. Yeah, I mean, I think we have an interesting product because we have part of the product, which is very desired by lots of law firms, which is document automation. Like there are lots of, no one's really an early adopter. I mean, there are some, but most people have kind of wrapped their heads around what document automation is and why it makes sense for their practice. So that has been an easier sell. And then selling them the vision of what the future is and what we see for the future of legal products. That's what we're really evangelizing and helping people realize. And that a lot of times happens through things like our marketplace and being able to see other examples of inspiring legal technology professionals who have built on Gavel.
All right. Thank you so much, Dora. Thank you for that update. It was really great. So quick round of applause for you. And if you could maybe put your contact info into the chat, and people can reach out directly to you.
Perfect.
Yeah, really wonderful. Good luck for everything. Please keep us posted. And yeah, well, let's turn it over to Raymond then. Raymond, are you there?
Now I am.
Hey, there you are. Great.
Yeah.
Where are you, Raymond?
Amsterdam. It is now 11 o'clock at night.
Oh, okay. Well, sorry for keeping you up so late.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It's pretty quiet, and I have fast internet because everybody's asleep. So I'm ready to.
That helps.
Yeah, that helps. Thank you for having me. Thank you for finally meeting everyone. Shall I just quickly share my screen?
Yes, please.
By the way, I hope to be in San Francisco in June.
Well, swing by.
I will.
Meet up here at Stanford.
Sure.
All right. The
Can you
floor is
guys?
yours.
Yeah, I cannot see myself, but I think you all can see my screen with 3 logos on it.
Yes, we can.
Okay. Well, First, my name is Raymond. Thanks again for this opportunity. A bit of background on me. I have a law degree and I'm specialized in intellectual property law and legal knowledge system engineering. I tried to be a lawyer. I was really bad at it because I like computers way more. So I tried to do something with technology. After a career at several companies, I finally found the courage to start my own. Now I'm CEO of legalcomplex.com and I'm co-founder of legalpioneer.org. Legalcomplex.com is our commercial operation and Legal Pioneer is our nonprofit operation. So Legal Complex truly exists to help keep Legal Pioneer alive. And I'll show you a few of the products and services that we provide. But our overall mission is to be able to create a safer society and a cleaner future by helping companies that solve these problems to raise capital and find customers. That's our core mission. So Legal Complex is the first logo that you see on your screen. Legal Pioneer is the middle logo. And the last logo is a new company we're going to try and set up this year. But it will explain itself when I run through all of the products and services that we provide. So what we're trying to do for our customers is basically answer three questions. The first one is if they wanted to start a company or they're thinking about going into a new market, they want to figure out how big is the market? Is it a fast growing market? Is there a lot of competition? And what are the kinds of products that are really successful in the industry? For instance, what Donna just presented is one of the fastest growing areas. Helping lawyers automate is a really hot topic, especially with ChatGPT as well. And we see that also in the numbers. So how do we try and answer these questions? We basically do three things, and that is we try and count how many companies there are in the industry, in legal. And legal is a really broad term. So we try and define it as companies that impact the legal industry. We're trying to look for how much capital they raised, and we're trying to look at how many employees they have employed. So we try and measure all these three categories, and that helps us answer three questions. Basically, look at the whole economy of the legal industry and say how much supply there is, how much demand there is for certain kinds of solutions. And the most important question is there growth in any of these areas? And our unique selling point is we do it instantly, which makes demoing it a little bit tricky, because if you're asking the right questions, you will get your answer in a couple of seconds. And so people don't need to purchase our services. So I will try and give as much away as possible. There's also a lot of free stuff that we made available, and the entire Legal Pioneer platform is freely accessible for everybody. These are our customers. Please don't mind the confidentials, because these are really good friends of mine. The other 36, I didn't get any permission to have their logos on here. But they all come to us with different questions about the legal industry and the adjacent industries and about the market. So to give you quickly the numbers behind what we're doing, one of the reasons why I started this is in legal in general, we always were encountered with lots of narratives and names, and we're always pretty light on numbers. So I try to do the complete opposite and only focus on the numbers. We have now 21,000 companies in our database. We captured about 773 billion in capital raised, and that's not all legal, by the way. I'll show you in a later screen how the different sectors are, but you can see a little bit over here. We also capture or register mergers and acquisitions. We count how many investors there are in certain areas. We look at growth, and we have a special new product called Target, or actually it's called Spark Matter, but it was based on this dashboard called Target. So how do we measure the size of an industry? What we have here is the entire database, and we have segments, which we look at, FinTech, GRC, RiskTech, SmartTech, WealthTech, and Legal. And we have many areas that we also track. And as we see, for instance, if you look at the legal market in general, we have 33 billion that we have tracked since all the companies that were started since 1897. Here, the oldest company that we have. And the size of the market we calculate to be 371 billion. And that is just based on a multiple of how much capital has been raised since we started tracking. But specifically, maybe some of you may be interested in knowing how much venture capital was raised last year. We can quickly show that to everyone, and this is legal. And by the way, we used to have lots of debates with our customers about how we label our data. So we now have a special service whereby everybody can bring their own labeling system, or the way they want to view the world, or the way they want to view the companies. And then we dynamically retag our entire data set to match their preferences. So for instance, if you want to look at for contract management with e-signature and artificial intelligence or something like that, we can use those, we can create those specific labels, and we've done so also for our customers. But just to check last year, how much was raised, and this constantly fluctuates, or actually it increases, because we're getting data from last year. We're still getting data in from last year. So this is the total raised in last year. We can also look at, for instance, mergers. We have a couple of other databases, but the most interesting one that we use is if we look at the number of investments, or the number of rounds, deals, we call it, over time. So you have an idea of, for instance, is it increasing or not? And this is one of the ways to measure growth. As you can see here, it has been fairly stable since January 2020, the number of deals in legal, but you can see a slight decline over here. And by the way, we can drill down in any specific subset as well. As said, we can also look at it from a perspective of mergers. We have, in general, we have about 30 dashboards, whereby, and we can make also custom dashboards. I'm seeing that these are not numbered. Anyway, these are the mergers and acquisitions in general that we have tracked. And we can also select which one we can drill into. One of the more interesting new dashboards that we have created is called Spark Matter. Oh, by the way, almost forgot. One of the things that makes us unique is also that we can track based on location. So we're tracking how much is invested in certain states in the US, and you can also drill down on specific subsets in that area. If you go to legalcomplex.com on our website, under Spark, you'll find 3 tabs. The first one is Spark Max, which you're looking at right now. We have Spark Mini and we have Spark Map, where you'll find a free version of this map, and also from the entire globe, the world. To quickly jump to one of our favorite dashboards. Oh, maybe we can go back one step and show you one of our newest experimental dashboards, which was specifically created for a customer question. Measuring growth is a complicated question. You can measure it based on how much capital is being raised year over year or month over month. But one of what I think is more relevant questions that we can ask is how many new companies are being created. So we're tracking companies based on their founded date, and we can see here how many companies they've been created. And this will be relevant for a later dashboard, which I'll show you. And you can see here that we had in 2017 actually the most companies created in the legal space that we were able to track. And you can see here beneath is the new experimental board, where we try and figure out which of the areas are popular in which year. So you can see here contracts has been fluctuating over the years compared to other sectors. We can also do this by looking at, and by the way, these numbers correspond to how much capital they have raised. We can also look at it, how many new companies have been created in each of these areas. But this is just to give you a flavor of what it is we're tracking overall. So this is the top line product. But basically, what we're also trying to do is this entire data set we can view through the lens of one company. So we created a mini version of our database, our dashboards, I mean, which is Spark Mini. And what we do here is we'll use the data for one company. In this case, we just gave us a quick example. And then we try and figure out how many similar companies there are. And we can tweak those algorithms to broaden the scope or make it smaller. This data set is specifically capturing data from companies where we have enough financial information from. So we can see, for instance, that a total has been invested in this specific area in 10 billion, and then we have how many similar companies, how many investors, and how many exits there are. And these jump to specific databases as well. Just to quickly go back to one of our more popular dashboards. This one was inspired by a question from the investment community. And what you're looking at right now is these bars represent the number of companies that are most likely to raise in that period of time. And how we calculate that is based on how much capital they raised earlier, the time span between that, and we try and figure out a pattern for those types of companies and see how often they raise capital, so we can make a educated guess when they're going to start raising capital again. And for all these dashboards, we can also drill down per segment area and also status, which is looking at seed company series, companies that raise equity or debt financing. But what the customer actually asked us is, hey, we wanted to reach out to those companies that are most likely to raise in the near future and connect with them. And for them, we made a special mobile app, which is now only running for a couple of customers. We haven't released this as a product yet to everyone. But here the customers can basically create their own search terms or their own queries based on what likely type of companies they're interested in talking to. And then we use our algorithms to calculate when those companies are most likely be in the business of raising another round, or maybe looking for potential acquisition or getting acquired. But this is our commercial operation. Then we also have our non-commercial operation, which is actually our true passion, and that is our legal pioneer side. And I'm happy to announce that just this year, in January, actually, we just surpassed 10,000 profiles. We're going to celebrate this in March when it's our, I think, 5th anniversary. But basically, this site is accessible for everyone. We're going to update it soon. But here we have all of the legal tech companies and also some of the reg tech companies that are available in our data set. So they are just a subset. And I also like to point out that we're trying to figure out, by the way, we have a Chrome plugin, which you can use or select any term on any website and use it as a search term to query our database and see if there's a company attached to this. So for instance, Metaverse, you want to see how many companies are in there on Web3. And we're also experimenting with voice. We have a Siri shortcut, which you can then just use. If you have an iPhone, you can just use your voice and say, I want to find or locate all of the companies in our legal tech companies in Tokyo, and then it will produce that. Ultimately, we want to bring this together and with our data set and with our presentation, to basically generate more data and have it more, voice driven. So no search terms or keywords needed. And the ideal end goal would be that somebody could say, hey, please give me all of the companies that have raised capital in, for instance, the Netherlands in the last 3 months. And then we will be able to provide you that answer. That's basically my entire story. Did I forget to say? No, I think I did.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Raymond. And so who are the target users for this?
Good question. To be honest, I didn't know when I started, but the first people that started to reach out to me were startups and scale-ups that wanted to raise capital with investors. We also have law firms reach out to us, but they are usually in a specific circumstance because they're interested in looking at potential technology acquisitions. And more recently, investment bankers and corporate advisors.
Got it. Okay. And so why did you break out, with you tracking different industries? And this is, sort of like a commercial database, I understand, right? For people to do analytics. Why did you break out a separate one with all the legal techs? And that's that's a nonprofit.
So what we were aiming to do is I wanted to capture, I wanted to be able to capture all of the companies as a kind of a Wikipedia page, so that people were able to see all types of companies that were out there. I was trying to figure out, if I was going to start a company, where would I go look for all the existing ideas that are already out there? So in our Legal Pioneer platform, you also find companies that have been that are now deceased, like Atrium, LTS. And they are more there for historical purposes. Does that answer your question?
Well, yeah, I was just curious why there's like this nonprofit part that has all the legal tech companies. Why did you feel that merits to be part of a nonprofit versus
Why did
the commercial side,
question.
which also has fintech and
Yeah, so
other?
I wanted to have a free, yeah, good questions. I wanted to have a free space where everybody could go and figure out what types of companies are out there, and more for a historical informational purposes. I know that there are a lot of other companies out there that are helping, for instance, lawyers pick the best technology, and trying not to compete with any of them. We're more here for founders, investors, the students, to just go ahead and have a place to browse for all types of companies all over the world. I first fell in love with AngelList. That was our first data set that we used.
Yeah. Quick, so data sources are interesting. That's an interesting question. What data sources you use? You showed like an image of Gavel, but it was more like placed in sort of like generic data from that industry, not the specific data from Gavel's funding history, I suppose.
No.
But yeah. Anyway, so I'd be curious, you know, where you get the data from. And Peter is saying whether you have considered helping nonprofits find potential donors too.
Yes, we do. We do.
Okay. And his other question is, you know, of course, he's interested in what tech stack you're using to do what you do.
Sure. So this is now on a WordPress site, and we're using what we used to be called Data Studio, and now it's called Looker Studio. Our data resides in BigQuery. And where do we get our data from? Here you have a list of all of the sources, or the biggest sources that we track. Or actually, there's one bigger source that's not on this list because it's too huge, and that is LinkedIn. The second one is Twitter. And then we have Dealroom, Crunchbase, LC RegTech is us, Traxon, and LC Legal Tech is us. And I have a little surprise for you here, just for this presentation. We also have tracked CodeX. We've been tracking CodeX since 2018. So we occasionally
So that's our database of early stage legal tech companies.
Exactly.
Our tech index, yeah. Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. So and the number that you see here is not the number that's represented on your side, because some of the profiles don't fit our definition of a company that we would register. So we've cleaned that a little bit, so we have a more a slightly lower number.
Okay. Well, great. Well, thank you. Let's see. Did you talk about your tech stack?
Yes. So WordPress, Looker Studio, which was previously called Data Studio. We use BigQuery as our data warehouse. And we have a lot of robots that we've built.
Okay, cool. Can I, Raymond,
Thank you.
I know it's very late and we're at the end of our time, but can I
Sure.
ask you just put your email address for
I will.
whatever other way you want to be contacted into the chat. So if folks have more questions, they could reach out to you directly. But let me thank you, and let me thank Dorna for 2 great presentations, and it's really exciting what you guys are doing, and really appreciate you sharing it with our CodeX community. And yeah, please please keep us posted, and yeah, hope to see you when you're out here.
June, hopefully June, I'll be there.
All right, good. And yeah, Future Law Conference is coming up, so we're working hard on that. It's going to be a whole week of exciting, well, 3 days of a week of exciting legal tech conversations. So starting on April 12th, the main event is April 13th, and then we have another couple of workshops on the 14th. So check it out on our website, which Megan kindly just put into the chat here. And yeah, it's still a work in progress, so we're still confirming sessions and speakers, but it's promising to be a great event, and hopefully we'll see many of you there. Good to see you all. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Good night, good morning, good afternoon, and we'll see you all soon.
All right. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.